everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. We are now live, I hope. Last week I used Wirecast this week I'm just using YouTube again because my husband had set it up for me. And I'm kind of technically illiterate sometimes. So let me wait to see if you guys can hear me. Anybody hear me? Just tell me you can hear me. Pretty sure you can. All right, so we're going to get into music. I'm excited because today was an exciting day for me. I've been up a really, really long time, so I'm very tired. I got up early. I decided that I needed to get up before the kids on this day to get all my stuff on the computer done. And I still managed to be on the computer quite a bit today. It is what it is. So I launched my piano studio. I got it done. I cannot believe it. Thanks to Mrs. Karen Rodriguez. She helped me through it, walked me through it, held my hand. I still have tons of questions. And she showed me all these different websites to use with it. And then also Angelique Burrows from England. She designed all the cute artwork on it. You'll have to go check it out. It is really, really cute. It's churchmousepianoacademy.com. And just go on there and look at all the cute artwork, everything that's designed. I think that's one of the best parts about it is all the cute stuff on it. So that is up and running. I actually had quite a few people sign up today already. So I have a few slots open. I'm not going to be doing it every day of the week. I'm only going to do 2 main days and then just a couple hours on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are kind of like my stay-at-home days for the whole day. So that's why I did those days. So check that out, churchmousepianoacademy.com. Look at all the cute things. So I wanted to do a show all about music because people have been asking me when I was going to do this. And I knew that there was a lot that was going to go into it. So I just kind of kept putting it off. Well, like I said, today I got up really, really early and I spent a good hour just putting together the outline of stuff I wanted to talk about because there's so much that you can talk about with music. And there is just so much that goes into it. Obviously, I have pretty high standards when it comes to music. And I just want to convey that in the right way. There is a lot in the Bible about music, but there's not, stuff in the Bible that specifically spells out. Obviously, a bunch of the instruments we have nowadays was not back in the Bible days, but there are principles that we can follow. So let's get into it. Hello to everyone that has joined. I see a lot of you have joined. Hi, Morgan. And all you other ladies, hello. I'm glad you could join. And stay tuned to the very end. You had to do something specific for the giveaway. You had to go share the post about my Piano Academy. If you follow me on Facebook, if you follow Gently Led Sisters on Facebook, then you should have done that. And I have 16 names. It says 16 shares, but I couldn't see a couple of you. Like Karen, I went ahead and put your name in there because I know I had seen you shared the post, but it wasn't showing up in the feed or in the shares for some reason. And I'm pretty sure I saw that Pastor Joe Major shared it as well, but he was also not showing up in the shares. So I did all the ones that showed up. I think if you had your, when you shared it, if you shared it on private to just your friends, it did not show up under the Gently Led Sisters post. So I did all the ones that showed up on there. And if you shared my post from Gently Led Sisters today and I did not get your name, go ahead and let me know. I'm going to read them off at the end. And we're going to see. I'm going to read them off at the end just to make sure I have everyone. So hang tight to the very, very end. I have 16 names in there. And the giveaway is for a half hour of free piano lessons. So that could be interesting if you've never played. A half hour won't get you very much, won't get you very far if you've never played. But maybe if you have played, then maybe I can give you some tips. So okay, so please bring up your music questions as we're doing this. Okay, if you have anything that you want to ask about music, I'll try to answer it. So, many people think that music is amoral, meaning it's neither moral nor in moral specifically. It's lying outside the sphere to which moral judgments apply. But I do not believe that music is amoral. I believe that it can be moral or it can be immoral, because all music has a message. And I've read the phrase, and I often liked it growing up: music expresses the beauty that words cannot express. And sometimes if you don't have words, then you want to listen to music. Maybe if you're in a depressed mood, you want to listen to calming, soothing music. If you are in I got to get the house clean mood, you want to listen to, peppy music, like I Had a Tiger or something, if you're trying to get it done. So there's definitely a moral and moral aspects to music. And Karen asked, how often do you have to get a piano tune? I've never done mine. What is the average cost? Is it necessary? I am ashamed to admit the piano in my home has not been tuned. Like, when was the last time I even got that tuned? We've moved several times too. It's probably been like 12 years since I got it tuned. And it's held its tune pretty well. It's a little Wurlitzer, which I like that brand, the Wurlitzer brand. If you can find one for free or cheap, it's a really good brand. I actually like my little Wurlitzer better than the little Baldwin that we have here at the church. We have a baby grand Baldwin that is pretty good. I like the action on that one, but the little Baldwin that we have in the church is just a little upright, and I don't like that as much. So, yeah, don't feel bad. It's usually about, when we got both pianos tuned here, we just got them tuned like 3 weeks ago. And I think it was $250 for both. I think an average tune usually costs around $100, maybe. It depends on how much work they have to put into it. And you're also in the Phoenix area, and that might be more expensive than little rural country Illinois, because we just have this, this piano tuner that everyone goes to around here, and he's not that expensive. So, yeah, I would say around 100, unless Phoenix just jacks their prices up because there's competition or something. So I think it is worth it. The one thing that makes it worth it is that if you have stuck keys, or if you have keys that are real tight, or maybe the action is not good, the action is like the feel of the keys as you play, then they can adjust that. And so that's always good. I really, really need to get the one at our house done. It's bad. Abby practices on it. If I practice piano, I practice in the church one. So I'm spoiled with the baby grand. So Abby's the one that has to go through all the pain and suffering of a bad piano. But I will be teaching on that one too. So I should get that tuned. But yeah, I wanted to kind of show you something that kind of goes along with what I was saying, how music expresses different types of emotions and different types of moods. I do this with a preschool music class I do. And I have the book. I don't know if you've ever heard of Many Colored Days by Dr. Seuss. And this goes along. It's just a book that it kind of shows, like, I'm having a red day today, and I'm having a green day today, or I'm having a yellow day today. And so what I did is I have to go to it to find it. I went and I got all different types of videos to go with each day that they have. So this is the red day, and I'm just going to play some of it to kind of show you. So obviously that's a William Tell overture. And while I'm playing it, I tell the kids, now, how does the song make you feel? And usually they start being crazy and running around. And this goes with the red day. And it's like a horse prancing around. And I tell them, I say, yeah, this is a red day. It's exciting. It's, action packed, things like that. Well, then I'll play this one. And that is obviously a jazz song. So then they still get a little crazy even with that, with the jazz music. And it's like blues, harmonica. But then the tone definitely shifts when I start playing this one. And let me get it to a little bit further on. When I play that, they go from crazy dancing around to very solemn. just like, I can see it. They all kind of just start drooping. I'm like, and how does that make you feel? And they're like, sad. And see, even little kids can pick up on different emotions and different feelings that music is portraying. So they instantly go to that. But then the next song always gets them a little peppy. And this is a yellow one. So this is a yellow day. And obviously those of you that are musical know that that's the Flight of the Bumblebee song. So then they start going crazy and running around and everything. But then I put this one on. And suddenly they're very calm because that's a green day. That's just a nice, peaceful, relaxing day. So we go through all these different colors and all these different emotions. And the kids love it when I do it with them because it just kind of shows how music does produce different emotions and different feelings and things. So people will try to tell you that music is amoral, which, like I said at the beginning, means it's neither moral nor immoral specifically, but I do not believe that. I believe that it always is moral or immoral. So, if you look at different types of music in the Bible, 1 Samuel 18:6 says, and it came to pass as they came when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out of all the cities of Israel singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tabrets, I don't know if that's how you say that, with joy and with instruments of music. And then 1 Chronicles 15:16 says, and David spake to the chief of the Levites to appoint their brethren to be the singers with instruments of music, psalteries and harps and cymbals, sounding by lifting up the voice with joy. So both of these verses talk about them singing and making melody on instruments with joy. So it was often a joyful thing in the Bible when they did do the music. And I have a lot of verses that have to do with music. So that this is talking about joy, people using it with joy. And then there's other passages that music is used as a way to signal things to people. Often in the Bible days, they would have like a ram's horn, sometimes called a shofar, that they would kind of make noises with to summon people. But they also had trumpets, it says. And the priests waited on their offices, the Levites also, with instruments of music to the Lord, which David the king had made to praise the Lord because his mercy endureth forever. When David praised by their ministry, and the priests sounded trumpets before them, and all Israel stood. So a lot of times, and then, a lot of times they used instruments to kind of signal things. And obviously everyone knows another very famous passage in the Bible where it talks about them using music to signal something, Daniel 3:7. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And then also, we see that people were trained in musical instruments in the Bible. There was different people that would play different types of instruments for things. I love the harp as well. It's a very calming instrument. And we see that David was very skilled on his instruments in the Bible. And 2 Chronicles 23:13 says, and she looked, and behold, the king stood at his pillar at the entering in, and the princes and trumpets by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced and sounded with trumpets, also the singers with instruments of music, and such as taught to sing praise. So they actually taught people how to sing. And I always liked this verse. This always helped me when it came to practicing my instruments. 2 Chronicles 34:12 says, and the men did the work faithfully. And the overseers of them were Jahath, I'm not going to say these names right, and Obadiah, the Levites of the son of Merari, and Zechariah, and Meshullam, of the sons of the Kohathites, to set it forward, and of other of the Levites, all that could skill of instruments of music. So they obviously had skill. So, and I know there's some other verses that talked about, what's the one? There's a famous verse that talks about skill on instruments as well. But, all through the Bible, there are lots and lots of verses. Obviously, Psalms has a lot of verses about music because I believe David was a very artistic person. He obviously was a great writer. He wrote beautiful poems and he set words to music. As we see, he would often calm Saul down and he would change his mood when he was having one of his fits. So he was very artistic and he was very skilled at his instruments. So not only was he a rough, rugged man because he was out tending to, the sheep and things all the time, which you had to be pretty strong because he killed animals that were trying to threaten the sheep. So he was very strong, but he was also very skilled at what he did. So I believe if you're going to do something, do it right. And if you're going to do music lessons, then, practice. Do it with all your might. Get good at it. Get good at whatever you do. If it's singing, then get good at singing. If it's, the flute or the piano, get good at it. Take it seriously. So, so music has been around a long time, and music had a purpose and a place, and God likes music. I really believe he does. Ephesians 5, we see that God was commanding his people how to live. In those verses, he tells us to sing unto him. So here are one of the principles outlined when it comes to music. Ephesians 5:18 says, and be not drunk with wine where is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. This is going through guidelines and telling us how to live, how to present ourselves. And then verse 19 says, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. So here he's giving us specific instructions, speaking to yourself in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. So not only are you supposed to sing out loud to him, but he's telling them to sing in your heart as well. So have a song in your heart throughout the day. Go around the house singing. It's good for your kids to hear that. I think it brings joy to God when his children sing unto him and when we bring him praises. So Psalms 100 says, make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that made us and not ourselves. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him and bless his name. So that's telling us in Psalms. And if you just do a search, do a word search and look up everything that has to do with music, then all the verses will come up and you'll be able to see everywhere in Psalms where it talks about music, making a melody, things like that. So now if you guys have any questions about music standards, music guidelines, even anything to do with instruments, church music, go ahead and leave it in the comments and I'll try to answer it. I wanted to do everything about music, but this is more specifically the things that I wrote down just kind of have to do with why we have the standards in our life when it comes to music and why we, sing the songs we do in church, but yet we reject other types of music. So that's kind of primarily what I'm dealing with. But if you have any questions about the piano or, church music, go ahead and leave it in the comments as well. So I believe the main purpose of music in church is to glorify God and worship him. He gave us a command in Ephesians to come together, sing to him, make melody to him. I believe that music should be different than the world's music. While the Bible doesn't give us specifics, we do see guidelines. And this verse is one that I think applies to music very, very good. And it's Philippians 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. And I really think we need to take this seriously when it comes to church music as well. My husband has been doing a series on Sunday night called Decently and in Order. And he is talking about different ways that we do things in our church. And now every church is different, but we should all have the same, basic, the type of church that I'm going to go to. It's going to have old-fashioned music. It's not going to have worldly music. It's not going to have a drum set on the platform. Those are the type of churches that I would attend. I wouldn't attend any of the other liberal, ones that have the liberal music, things like that. So that's the type of church that I'm going to go to. So what age should you teach your child an instrument that they are interested? I would, for piano, it really comes down to hand and eye coordination. A lot of parents, first of all, they have to know, before I'll start a child in piano lessons, they need to know their letters and numbers because they are learning the notes of the piano, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They are learning those, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They are learning those, so they need to know at least A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And they need to know how to recognize it, things like that, because they're going to learn to read the notes. And they need to know their numbers because they're going to have finger numbers as well when it comes to anything, you know, any instrument, obviously you use your fingers. So you're going to have finger numbers. And actually, finger numbers in piano are very important. You want to learn the correct fingering of songs. Like when it comes to harder songs, if you ever get into Bach, things like that, you have to do the exact fingering. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to play it because it's so difficult. And then once you actually memorize the fingering as you're playing it. So hand-eye coordination, a lot of times though, even if they have their numbers and letters down, they're not quite ready because it is tough. You have to be able to lift one finger at a time when you're playing. And a lot of kids, they're flat. You know, one of my pet peeves is flat fingers. So they're flat on the keyboard and it's hard. So it just kind of is something that happens. Sometimes 4-year-olds are ready for that, but sometimes they're not ready till they're 6. It just kind of depends on the child. So let me show this. Okay. At what age can you start to teach a child? Same thing. Now, I would start them early, definitely with singing, because even singing, it's getting the pitch in their head. And that will help them to have good pitch as they get older. And I've even known some people, the piano, not so much because obviously the tuner tunes it, but with like wind instruments and things, you have to have good pitch because you can kind of tell when I'm playing the flute, I can adjust it. If I can tell, especially if I'm playing with the piano and I'm being accompanied, if I can tell if I'm flat or if I'm sharp, so I can either roll in or roll out on the head joint. I can either, on the mouthpiece, I can either roll in or roll out to help adjust that sound. So really good pitch is important when you're learning an instrument, and singing will help that if you start them singing from the time they're little. So T&D Smith said, when out running errands and I hear the worldly wicked music, I immediately sing a hymn to replace and get the world's music out of my head. It works. Jessica, you said your 6-year-old girl wants to learn violin. She's probably definitely old enough. And violinists, I have never played the violin, so I'm not well acquainted with it. But I do know violinists start very, very young because they don't even start you out on a violin. A lot of times they'll give you a practice one or play thing like sponges or something and a bow just to learn how to bow. So yeah, definitely think that she's old enough. Samantha said, my husband and I had a discussion about why more upbeat hymns are frowned upon. I love music and instruments, so I don't understand why there's such a stigma against it. Why couldn't a drum be used? And I was going to get into that in a little bit. It's not so much that the drum is evil. It's that the drum is creating a beat. And there is a worldly beat. And when you have the whole song service focused around one drum, then that drum is kind of overtaking everything. And, like I said, it's not so much that a drum is evil, but if you look at the difference, okay, and I use this example a lot, we use drums in orchestration because they do help provide a beat, sometimes, just enough to keep everyone on rhythm. But if you listen to an orchestration, that is not what you hear. What do you hear when you listen to an orchestration? You hear all the violins, you hear the flutes, you hear the trumpets, and those outpower the beat. But when you have a drum set on stage and it's a drum set and the piano, the drum set overtakes everything. And then you're focusing on that beat and it's just overpowering. So in the world, they do that. They use the drum. And honestly, drums stress me out, like drum sets, and they just stress me out. And everyone knows the stress of when someone's like pounding on drums. It gives you a headache. So, you want your worship service to focus on bringing praises to God and, rejoicing in Him. And if you've got this drum just constantly beating, it's going to be hard to get into that. Okay, let's see. So Kelly said, how can I save up money for a piano after spending so much money at Aldi? If I didn't have to spend money on groceries, I could travel the world. I really could. So ways to help a child overcome stage fright. This is very good. I have been teaching piano for a long time. And when I do the lessons in person, every year, twice a year, 3 times a year, I provide 3 performance opportunities for the children that I teach. We do a festival of trees at the mall. And what that is a Christmas celebration. And it's very casual, but I have my electric piano there, and the kids get Christmas songs, and we put the work into it weeks ahead of time. And then they have a performance opportunity right there in the middle of the mall, and just mainly in front of their parents and then the parents of the other children. So I think the number one thing to get over stage fright is just doing it. You're going to have to do performances. If you do not, like with me, I know we're going to be doing online piano classes. And one of the things that I don't like about that is I can't have a recital because unless I did an online recital or something, that's possible. I have to think if I could get that in the works. But I really think if you're involved in church, though, like for us, we do a nursing home service. We do Sunday school. We do regular church. We do regular church 3 times a week. There's preludes. If your pianist of your church would be willing to let your children perform the preludes before church, like maybe 10 minutes before church, you have them get up there and people are still talking. So it's very low key, and you have your child get up there and you have them play songs, just hymns, and they can be arranged to their level. But that has really helped. At my old church, we did that a lot. And I'm going to start incorporating that here because we have some younger kids here, Abby, my daughter included, if you're listening, Abby. We have some younger kids that play that need to get that boot to start doing things like that, because that's what's going to make them comfortable. You just have to do it. And I'm to the point where I don't get real nervous anymore unless it's like a big event, like a wedding. You don't want to mess up a wedding. Funerals, I don't really get nervous about anymore. Funerals are pretty easy because you're playing nice, slow, just pretty music at funerals. So if I've worked on a song for a long time and I don't want to mess it up, I'll get a little nervous when I play that. But it's just really performance opportunities. Try to get them to do whatever they can to play. If it's playing in front of their siblings, if it's playing in front of their grandparents, if your pianist at church will work with you and let them play for, some people do offerings, we do offerings, and they get practice that way. And when they get a little better and they're even playing hymns, just playing the hymns for a church service, that is the best thing to do, in my opinion. So, and it's a very good confidence builder. I really feel like the kids that take music lessons and they do performances, it really boosts their self-confidence because they worked hard for weeks, at least my students. I have never had a horror recital story. I've been to some recitals that other people's students had horror stories, like running off the stage crying, but I've never had any that have done that, thank goodness. But I work with them for weeks ahead. I work on how you're going to approach the piano, how you're going to sit at the piano, how you're going to curtsy or bow after your song, how you're going to keep going even if you mess up. And the most important thing is that you get up there and you finish well. But I really feel like that the performance opportunities really, really build self-confidence because they're working for a common goal for a long time. And they have the success of it. And it's like an adrenaline rush. They get up there, they play. They're so proud of what they did. And it's a huge self-confidence booster. So you just got to do it. I spent a long time in that. But I'm passionate about that because I've really seen it transform very shy kids, very shy, timid children. In fact, one of my best piano students I had, she surpassed me in her playing ability. She is amazing. She's much better at playing by ear than I am. I've had to really force myself to play by ear. I've had to teach myself that. I was never taught that, taking lessons. And because when you play church music, a lot of it is playing by ear, especially the hymns. You're improvising half the hymn, because I don't know if many of you know, but a hymn only comes in 4 parts. They've got the bass, the tenor, the alto, and the soprano. 4 notes. It's up to you to add in everything else. You have to add in the fill-ins, the arpeggios, the chords. You're the one making it sound beautiful, sounding pretty, sounding peppy, sounding upbeat. And it's a gospel hymn playing type thing. And I was never taught that. So most of my stuff, most of my fill-ins and things came from listening to other pianists doing it, from learning my chords, learning my scales. all that went into improvising. So, yeah, I'm getting way behind on here, but I might not even get much to my notes. Maybe I should do like a 2-parter. But I've had some parents that have just let their kids, they've given in to their kids whining and cry about, I don't want to do it, I'm too scared, blah, blah, blah. And it's almost like, I don't know. I feel bad for the kids because they won't get to experience the thrill of a job well done, and it's like anything in life. Everything is hard before it's easy, right, Karen? So, let's see. Many people give away. Kelly asked, oh yeah. Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Check Facebook Marketplace. Lots of people want to get rid of their pianos and they just want you to pick it up. So if you check Facebook Marketplace, a lot of times you can get a free piano just picking it up and hauling it away. Pianos are heavy and they're a pain to move. So sometimes people just want to get rid of them. And Craigslist, yes, Craigslist as well. Shelly, I think the whole thing with the drums is just, once again, it's a style of music. It's a worldly style. The world is the one that took the drums from the orchestration pit and focused a whole band around just the drums. And that's what started rock and roll music. So when you're bringing that into the church, you don't want the church to be anything like the world. You want it to be separate. You want it to be different. And it's sending the wrong message, I believe, when you have a drum set on stage. I really, a lot of bars have drum sets, because, a lot of karaoke things, karaoke bars, nightclubs. And I feel like it's sending the wrong message. So, Kirsten, do you still play violin? I didn't know you play violin, I don't think. Let's see. Yeah, Kelly, you have a huge house. You just got a huge house. You could get a piano in there somewhere. What kind of keyboard would be second best to getting a piano? I have a link to one actually on my website, churchmousepianoacademy.com. And I personally hate clavinovas and keyboards. It's such a different feel. If you're going to get one, though, definitely try to get a full-size one, 88 keys, and try to get them weighted. They need to be weighted so that they have a little bit more of the feel of piano keys. There's just nothing like real piano keys. And but if you have to get a keyboard, I would get a full-size one. A lot of people think they can get like the itty-bitty one. And I mean, I guess that's okay for learning your 7 basic notes when you're starting out, but it's not the best. So if you can, I always encourage my students to get a piano, a real piano, just so they get used to the feel of it. But if they can't, then, obviously the keyboard I like Yamaha ones. I have the one linked on my resource page on churchmousepianoacademy.com is a Yamaha one. And it is weighted keys and it's 88 keys. There's also some that are like, 76 or 77 keys or something that you can get as well. That's the closest best thing to a full-size keyboard. But if you're going to get that close, you might as well just get the full set and the 88 keys. So that's just my opinion. But Leanne said, yes, perform. I just lost her. I didn't do as much as a child, but the only way to overcome stage fright is to do it. I have them start with performance for grandpa and grandma. Yep. Start adding family members. Do brothers and sisters, then do grandparents when they come over, add other family members, eventually get to where they're playing for strangers, not really strangers, but that's what you're doing in a recital. You're playing in front of a bunch of strangers. So, Leanne said, I still get stage fright, but I'm so used to the symptoms of it now, I can ignore it and work through it. I hate it when you start trembling, like especially your fingers start trembling. Oh, your fingers are shaky. I hate that. I hate it when your fingers get shaky. That's really hard to do when you need them to play. So I have not had the opportunity to play the harp. I would love to play the harp someday. It is a very, very pretty instrument. How do you know if a free piano can be tuned if it's free and not tuned yet? You mean, how do you know if it's like not a piece of junk? Most of the time when you move a piano, you're actually supposed to get it retuned because a lot of times they can get jostled in the move. But I don't know. I'd be able to tell if it was junk, I guess. But I guess you're just taking a chance. Look at the keys in the back. Lift up the lid. Make sure there's no broken strings. Make sure there's no you can look at the keys themselves, make sure there's no chips, kind of play them and see if they're sticking a lot. So, Abby, I used to be terrified at all my recitals, but this last one, I wasn't even that nervous. I still get worried about playing for church, though. Yes, you do, Abby. You get very worried about playing for church. I told her, when was it? Was it last week or the week before? I was sick with that horrible throat thing that was going around. And I told her she might have to play. Well, needless to say, she was very happy. We have like 3 piano players here. So she was very happy when Josh showed up and she didn't have to play. So let's see. Not sure if you covered it, but is secular music okay? I like Motown music. I don't even know what that is. I was going to cover that in just a little bit. We have a lot of questions coming in, though. Let's see. Thank you. My website is so cute. It turned out so cute. I think it's like the best website, but of course I would. Okay. You know what? You can learn at any age though, Kelly, especially with the books that they have now and things and all the resources and all the videos you can watch on YouTube with it. It's definitely not the same as someone being there and saying, okay, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. But when you're just starting out, and give you some good guidelines. So yeah, she has come. Once you learn those notes, it's all learning the notes is memorization. And it's a lot like times tables. It's a pain, but you just got to remember, you just got to memorize them because you've seen it when your kids don't know times tables, they really struggle with multiplication. And it's the same way with piano. When you don't know your notes, you don't know how to read your notes, you really struggle. You have to sit there and you have to think about it. You have to be like, okay, 8 times 6 is, okay, well, 8 times 5 is, and then you kind of like have to do that with piano when you don't know the notes. But when they click and you know them and you've memorized those notes, a whole new world opens up. And I've seen it countless times for students and they love it. They start loving the piano and it's fun to play. And Abby's to that point. So I'm really happy that we've poured all the music into her lessons. Yes, someone else teaches her because if it was my kid and I've seen it happen with my other ones. I'm starting Lana and Allie though this week. So root me on. But something comes up and you're like, well, we'll do it tomorrow. Then something comes up and you're like, we'll do it tomorrow. Then something comes up, but if you have to actually take them or you pay for a lesson, then you're going to do it. So, but let's go over music in church real quick. So, when you're deciding what type of music should be in church, I think you should look at a few things. And I'm going to say I have higher standards for music in church than I do in my own home. Because in my own home, and I'm going to go over this, I don't allow rock and roll music. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I do allow fun music. And when I say fun music, I love musicals. I love Sound of Music. I love Fiddler on the Roof. I love Newsies. Those are all songs that I would classify as fun songs. They're just fun to listen to. They're upbeat. The kids twirl around and have fun with them. I see absolutely nothing wrong with doing that in your home. Would I do that in church, though? Absolutely not. There is a time and a place for everything, and church is not that time and place for music like that. So, I believe that you should definitely, like homeschool PE. They get quite the workout when they're twirling around to those musical songs. But, look at the beat. There's a difference between a snare drum and a drum set. Okay. If you look at the difference between orchestras versus a rock band, orchestra has the rhythm section to give it rhythm, to help with the rhythm, keep everyone on track. Whereas a rock band has it to be the primary focus of the music. That's why rock bands look for a great drummer, because that's the primary focus of their music. And I do not believe ever that music in church should have the primary focus of the drums, because it is just a very worldly thing. Like I said, back when rock and roll started, those drums were introduced. So obviously the words are the most important, There are deep songs and there are shallow songs. Music has definitely been dumbed down. One thing that really, there's this guy, I don't know his name. He sings a cappella. He like records himself singing all these different parts. And if you just go on YouTube and you look up I think it's evolution of church music through the ages, he starts out way back, like, I don't even know, something BC. And he goes through and it's like different hymns at first, like Be Thou My Vision, all the way through Amazing Grace. And then once he starts getting to like 1970, the music starts becoming a lot different. And you can just see the devolving of it. It's not the evolution, it's the devolving of the music. It got dumber and dumber and dumber. The words got dumber, the lyrics got dumber, the style of music got dumber. Dumber, as I'm saying, dumber, more dumb. They everything just got dumbed down. And you have to go look at that video, and it kind of just really shows you the devolving of it all. So there are even different types of hymns. There are gospel songs and like saved, that's kind of a gospel song. And then there's like the hymn, like the classical hymn style, which would be like A Mighty Fortress Is Our God. What are some other ones? My mind is Be Thou My Vision. Songs like that. They're very they're harder to play, I believe, because they're more in a classical style. A lot of them are in a lot of sharps. I struggle with sharps. I'd rather play 5 flats than 3 sharps. And sometimes if a song has 4 sharps, I'll change it to flats just because I like flats better. But a lot of them are in that because of orchestration. And when you play music on the piano to where it was written for orchestration, because of the violins, a lot of the key signatures are in sharps to accommodate the violins. So, but yeah, definitely the words are the most important. You can definitely tell the difference with words, even in styles. And then there is a definite worldly style to songs too. And if you don't believe me, just go listen to a few different types of songs on YouTube. It can be very sensual. Worldly songs can be very sensual. And the last place you want sensual music is in a church. Also, the style of the musician and the soloist. And I've got to say, excuse me. I have seen some musicians or some solo. We do have special music at our church. We've not had this problem. We've not had to deal with this problem. Because all of the people that come here are pretty on board. I mean, they're on board with our music standards and everything. But I'll address that question in a minute, Kelly. There are different styles even with musicians. And, when we have people sing a solo in church, it's to bring glory to God. It's not to bring glory to themselves. So if they're like crooning, I don't even want to do an imitation because I'll look stupid. But if they're like crooning, kissing the microphone, hamming it up, going, sliding all over the place with their voice instead of just hitting the note. That's really bringing the attention onto themselves. It's bringing the glory onto themselves. And people are going to be watching them, not even focusing on the words. And so there is definitely, I think, a bad way to sing a solo in church. Bad ways of singing solos. And even bad ways of being a musician. I've seen some pianists, I'm sitting there and they're like professional pianists. I'm sitting there going, I can't even, like, if I had listened to them, I have to just not watch because I can't even stand the style. I mean, they are just, just so dramatic. And I know part of that is because they're artsy and all that. But when you are playing a song in church, especially for like an offertory or something, you don't want to bring all this attention to you going crazy on the piano. It's supposed to be about bringing glory to God. And I'm not talking about don't do a fancy song, because both me and Carrie, the other pianist in our church, she especially likes her runs on the piano. And there's nothing wrong with a fancier song, fancier arrangement, but she's not showy about it either. And I'm not showy when I play either. It's just, we don't want to bring the attention on us. We want to bring the attention to the majesty of God. And that's why we're at church and singing and playing music. So yeah, like Jennifer Hudson singing Amazing Grace. Exactly. just, yeah, your job as a soloist is not to bring attention to yourself. It's supposed to be bringing glory to God. So let's see. To me, though, a rock band is just a combination of instruments. Maybe it's because I'm a musical person, but I listen to all instruments in a band, not just drums. I love harmonies. I do too. But it just sounds to me like, you like the drums, you just don't want to give up the drums. So it's not hard for me. To me, they stress me out. That just overline, heavy beat, it's like when you pull up to a car and they have the bass really, really loud and you just hear that thump, 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 thump. And it's just annoying to me. It stresses me out. So would you say clapping during a song is similar to giving a drum beat? Do you mean clapping out the rhythm, or do you mean like when people are singing, you're clapping? When you see in the Bible about the people being joyful, a lot of times they were clapping. It's a joyful thing. When people do something good, we clap for them. Yay. Even for babies, when they do something, yay. So it can be a joyful thing. Like, I don't know if you saw Brother Manly Perry's missions trip video, but they're singing "Oh Happy Day." So they're like, "Oh happy day," and they're like clapping as they sing it. "Oh happy day." That's not the same. It's a drum beat. They're singing praises to God. They're making melody and they're clapping. They're using their hands as an instrument. That's not like the real heavy drum. Definitely different. So, self-indulgence, yes, that is a good term to use for it. So it took her 10 minutes to sing the song. I know vaguely who Jennifer Hudson is, but I've never seen her sing it. And I probably would turn it off after about 20 seconds because I can't stand that type of thing. So, what about Celtic drum tambourine? Once again, I think there's a time and a place for everything. I think some of the Celtic instruments, am I saying that right? I think some of them are very beautiful. Would I have them in church? Not necessarily. Would they be okay to give a performance where people listened, like at a recital or something? I definitely don't think there'd be anything wrong with that. There's different types of music, different places for music. Church is a time of reverence and a time where we take things seriously. It's different than even a recital or a performance event at, an opera house or something. So there's different times, different things for different times. So clapping and stomping like at a black church. And it was a black church that song was at. So I think they're happy. And once again, that's a cultural thing. Would we sing "Oh Happy Day" as a choir in our church and clap like that? No, we would not. Is it wrong or is it sinful for a black church to sing that way? I do not believe so. I believe it's a cultural thing, and I believe they have good hearts, and I believe God's looking at that. But I do believe that is different than drums. And you know what? It all comes down to, conviction. And what does the pastor of that church say? For me, like I said, I wouldn't even go to a church where there's a drum set on stage. That's me. That's my convictions and that's my standard. But if you decide to go to a church that does not, and they do not want drums, I definitely would not try to get drums there, try to cause problems, because they're too strict. But if you're okay with going to a church with a drum set, then, and it meets all the other criteria, right on salvation, King James only. I know some churches like that. I know some churches that are King James only and they're right on salvation. Then by all means, that's your decision. So you have to decide that. You have to decide what you're going to allow in your home. You have to decide what kind of church you're going to go to. That's that has to be something too that God puts on your heart. If you're going to have that standard, then, have that standard and stick with it. We have had that standard since we've been married. We're married going 18 and a half years now, and it hasn't changed. That's what we believe. So Pastor Jimenez only allows orchestra instruments, no drums. We are the same way. Now, if we had a full orchestra and we needed a snare drum or a timpani or something like that for a fancy arrangement, yes, an orchestra an orchestra song, we would definitely allow that. But it's going to be a long time before you get to be a full orchestra. That's a lot of trumpets. That's a lot of violins. So you're probably really far away from that. So let me see. Okay, so yeah, musicians can take the focus off the message and point it to themselves. For this reason, many pastors have gotten rid of special music. It can be a pain to have to police it. And we still have special music. We've never had to police it, which is great. So since many people don't even do special music in our church, I wish more would, but many don't. And most of the people that are here, they're on the same page as us with music. But I have gone to a church in the past. There was an actual split over music. Some people thought the standards were way too high and they were trying to bring stuff in. They were trying to bring tracks in for special music. And, that's the thing. We don't allow tracks. There are some tracks that are good. But once you start allowing them in, then you're going to have to start policing them. And then people are going to start pushing it. Well, this just has a little drum. And then if you let a little drum in, then someone's coming in with a lot of drum. So you just have to decide where that line's going to be. And when we first started, and there was just like 20 of us here, we had an older gentleman and he used soundtracks occasionally, and they had a little bit of a beat in them. And it was fine. It was more like old country music, old country gospel. But after we started growing and we started having more people come that wanted to do special music, we had to tell them, we can't do tracks anymore because we don't really want to have to police them all and have to listen to each of them and have to say, yes, you can use this one. No, you can't use that one. So we said no tracks. And since then, we haven't had any in our church. I mean, we have like 3 piano players. We could figure out anything that you bring to us. So there's no need for it really at all. So Amy, I agree with you. Rock bands at church are not okay. I definitely agree with you. And T&D Smith said, I'm 56 years old and I can say with 100% confidence, worldly music, especially with drums, was the hardest to part from as it sticks in your mind. Hymns only for me now. Yeah, it can be, especially if you grow up on that, if you're used to listening to that all the time. It really, I could say more so CCM music would be harder for me. I grew up listening to Jackie Velasquez, Steve Green, who else? The Gaither Vocal Band. I grew up listening to people like that. And so that has a little more draw for me than like the world's music. And CCM can be tricky that way because they bring the world style, but with okay words. They don't have any cussing. The words are usually okay. They bring the world style in, and then they try to get you hooked onto that. So it can be tricky. I don't listen to CCM anymore, but I did listen to it as a teenager. So I can see the draw. Definitely. That's the one thing I really miss about my old church. We sang the rafters off the building, just singing the classic hymns. That's great. There's nothing like it as well. I love hearing people sing it as well with my soul. It gives me goosebumps, and it's fun playing. It's fun singing. I love it as well with my soul. That's my favorite hymn. Kirsten said, sorry to have so many questions. Our pastor just handed out a flyer about special music, and I'm the only one who does special music. I just sing whatever hymn he tells me to with the pianist. I do not mind the questions. I'd rather have the questions constantly coming in than have just a lull. So go ahead and ask the questions, and you don't have to hear just what I'm saying. I feel like in white churches, the people are too reserved to really get into the singing. You know what, Dorothy? It's so funny because my best friend is originally from Tennessee, and she is from down south, and she loves drama during the music. She loves the weeping and the wailing, and she says she hates the special music in the north because we are so reserved. And we are. I am a white person, and I'm a northern white person. I am very reserved when it comes to emotion. As many of you know me, I'm not an emotional person. And when I perform, I try to be very professional about it. So I can see if you're from a different culture and she's from the Southern culture, that why she would hate Northern music. But I like it. So Is it bad to be upset if your church doesn't have a song leader who can sing in tune? I wouldn't be upset about it, but that would be annoying. That's hard when, maybe there's no one else that stepped up to the plate. So just start praying that maybe someone else will come along that can help with that, because that is hard when your song leader isn't in tune. Definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't be upset about it. If you're musical, it's going to be hard not to, maybe you can I would rather laugh about it. Just try to laugh rather than get mad. They're trying their best. A lot of people who are tone deaf, they really don't know they're tone deaf because they're tone deaf. They think they're singing on key. So now is it the pastor that is tone deaf that's the song leader? Because, sometimes pastors, they just have to be the song leader because there's no one else and they have to do it. But if it's not, then maybe, when someone does come along that steps up to the plate that wants to do it, your pastor can suggest they fill in. So, but I would definitely not get involved with that. I would stay out of it and just try to laugh rather than get upset about it. So let's go over music at home and private. Okay. So we went over church music. I have pretty high standards when it comes to the church music, but like I said, this is an area that you're going to have to decide for your family, but there are different scenarios for different type of music. And you've always got to keep that in mind. Where am I? What's the purpose? What's the goal? When you're at home, you're relaxing, you're chilling. I'm not saying bring out all the rock music. No, not at all. I do not like rock music. We don't allow rock music. But I love musicals. And while King of New York might not be the right song to sing in church, that's from Newsies, I see nothing wrong with listening to fun songs at home. But, I think the rule with music should be, would I be comfortable listening to the song with Jesus sitting right next to me? And that sounds corny, but it's true. Is the song filled with cussing and bad language and sensuality and, sexuality? I would not feel comfortable with that at all. I don't want that going in my kids' heads, especially my teenage boys' heads, if it's sensual music. So do I like Elvis gospel? No, I don't really I'm not a big country sounding. I would rather listen to classical than that. I'm kind of a music snob when it comes to some things. So Samantha said, I keep in mind that not everyone is musically inclined and the focus is glory to God, not how good they sound exactly. The Bible says make a joyful noise. They're making a joyful noise. They're trying. So Shelly said, I was in love with worldly music when I was drinking and partying. After following the Lord for the past 25 years, I'm no longer desensitized to the fleshy feeling worldly music invokes in me. So yeah, I'm glad that you got unhooked from it. That was good. But my father-in-law even talks about, he has a hard time with his memory sometimes, but he can remember every song in the world. And my husband's the same way. If you say a word, my husband he has a song for it. He's amazing that way. When it comes to a song, he can literally listen to it one time and know the whole thing. I'm just like, what? It takes me so long to memorize a song. And he can listen to it and just know the words like that. How do you do that? He just has this gift for it. My father-in-law is the same way. And he often talks about, that's why you have to be careful with music, because he can remember songs. He can't remember what he ate that day that he ate it, but he can remember songs from when he was 15. He can remember songs from when he was 20. They just get in your head and they don't get out. So that is one thing that you need to be careful about. Kimmy says she likes Elvis and Johnny Cash gospel style. My husband kind of likes more of the gospel style. I don't. That's not my type of music, but it all comes down to personal preference. So, I wouldn't sing Raindrops on Roses in church, but I don't feel like it's a sin to listen to it other places, such as a performance event or your home, things like that. So, these are the standards that I have in my home. I don't allow rock and roll. I don't allow music with cussing. No music that talks about women inappropriately. No music that puts me on edge or stresses me out. Even sometimes when the girls are listening to musicals and they're just having fun and I'm stressed out, I tell them to turn it off because it's too much. It's like overload, sensory overload. So I can't deal with it. Turn on the music right now. I don't want to hear it. So I definitely think that there's a time and place for different types of music. So, people that memorize music, they just make me so mad. I have to work so hard at it. It's like, my husband and I have this argument, and you guys tell me what you think. So we have this ongoing argument. He thinks that no one is born a prodigy, that no one is born more gifted in one area than others, and that we all just are as good as how hard we work. Like, it doesn't matter. You're not born with natural talent. It's just all a result of how hard you work. I disagree, because I have met people that when they were 4, they heard a song, a classical song, and they sat at the piano and they played it by hearing it one time. Don't tell me that's not a prodigy. I went to music camp at Pensacola Christian College. It was really fun, actually. For 3 weeks after I graduated, I was 18 years old. And there was a guy there, and he was brilliant on the piano. And he said from the time he was little, if he heard a song one time, he could play it. Any song, the hardest classical song, he could sit down and play it. That's amazing. And there are definitely people that have a natural talent for music. And I feel like I am one of those that was not born with that. And I don't have perfect pitch. I've had to work at it. And I have had to fight tooth and nail for any little bit of whatever that I have. So I've taken flute, vocal, and piano. And with all 3 instruments, I had to work really, really hard. And I'm not saying that prodigies don't work hard, but I am saying that some things come easier to other people than most of us. And everyone looks like they're agreeing with me. So Jessica said, I memorize songs easy and sing by ear. I don't read music well, so when I play violin, I have to practice until I memorize it. And then Leanne said, our pianist at our old church played entirely by ear. I think I was talking to Joanne about her piano teacher, and she said her piano teacher says that in order to be a good pianist, you need to play by ear and read notes, which she probably says that because she does both. But I've had to teach myself to play by ear. Like I said, it was never taught to me, and I've come so far. But even that, just teaching myself to play by ear, I have had to work and work and work and work and work and work at it, because I do know how to play by notes. Just throw any music at me and I can play it pretty much. I can sight read it. I can play it. But tell me to play a song by ear and I have to sit down and figure it out and learn how to do it. So you just had to start singing and she played with you. There's a lot of people that are like that. I am not one of them. I have to really, really work at it. Amy said music can be learned or a gift like drawing. I believe it. And I believe some of us have to work harder at it. So I am really going, okay, it's been an hour. So, okay, the importance of music. Let me go over these really, really quick, okay? So if you get rid of certain types of music in your life, you need to replace it. And I cannot stress this enough. So many people want to give up their worldly music, but they love music. There's something in all of us. We love music. God created us to love music. God created us as people that need it. So you know what? Replace it. Replace it with good music. Hyles Anderson College has some great music CDs. I love their music. They're all college tour groups. They all do a great job singing. I love it. Get some of their music CDs. They're really, really good. I listen to that all the time. It's very upbeat, peppy music, and they sing good. They sound really good. So teach your kids music. Have them take music lessons. Music lessons will make you appreciate music more. When you take music lessons and you see all the time and effort that goes into learning those songs and learning those notes, you're going to appreciate the work that church pianists, performers, you're going to appreciate the work they do a lot more. Elvin Martinez is amazing. That's another Heartland and OBC and Golden State. They have some good college CDs. Not good doctrine, but they have good college CDs. Some of the songs have bad doctrine. Just skip those. Listen to the good ones. Sounds like an infomercial. Yep. I'm a secret representative of Hyles Anderson. Didn't you know that? No, I'm not representative, but I love college CDs. I really do. Just if you're going to give them money, don't send your kids there. Just buy their music CDs if you're going to give them your money at all. The Hooker family. I grew up listening to the Hooker family. They kind of a little bit annoy me, so I don't think I could listen to them anymore, but I did grow up listening to them. Yeah. They all kind of, it's crazy though. When sisters sound together, they sound good because they all kind of have the same voice. So, but yeah, good age for music lessons. I already kind of went over this earlier. You kind of look to see if they know their letters, they know their numbers, and how their hand-eye coordination is. That is going to be the hardest thing when it comes to playing piano. Music lessons are hard, but like in life, nothing good comes easy. And it's hard before it's easy, right? One of Karen's sayings, everything's hard before it's easy. And it's the same way with piano. And I'm still learning new things. I'm still teaching myself new things and new ways to play hymns and new ways to improvise. Life is a process. Learning is a process. Learning piano is a process. And I'm going to do it my whole life. I'm going to keep learning my whole life. So thanks, Allie. And the arts are falling by the wayside. As Christians, we need to raise up a new generation of museums. You can tell I put up a long time. We need to raise up a new generation of musicians, not museums, that play the right kind of music. Okay. So it's our job. And that's one of the reasons I'm opening up my piano academy. I've noticed a very big decline in people learning how to play piano. And we have a lot of newer Christians that we know and that have gotten saved in the last few years. Maybe they didn't take piano. They weren't in church. They don't know the hymns. And so I'm trying to get them to learn piano. We need more church pianists. There's so many churches that don't even have one church piano player. And we need more church pianists. So that's why I'm trying to keep my prices affordable. I'm trying to do this mainly to just raise up a new generation of pianists. So anyways. All right, let me see. I'm going to read these names off and you guys tell me, make sure if you are watching, okay, if you're watching and you shared my post on Gently Led Sisters, but you don't hear your name called, and then let me know and I'll put your name in real quick, okay? So speak now or forever hold your peace if you don't hear your name. Bobby Hersey, Mrs. Lyons. I'll go through these real quick. Karen Rodriguez. Yes, I put you in there, Karen. Julia Matthew. Cynthia Wilson. Alyssa Ford. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Let's see, Anna Bryant. Catherine this is a really hard name. Catherine Takahashi. You shared, but you were late. Yeah, 6 p.m. Jessica Jo Jones. Amy James. Cindy Mosteller. Amy James, I don't know if you're in there. Have I said your name yet? Ashley Grooms. Joe Major. Bethany Rios. Luetta Antonin. Oh, just now you shared it. David Kirsten Fisher. Okay, you just shared it now. Oh, you mean this one you shared? Jessica, you don't have your own social media to share stuff? That's sad. All right, let me put in your name. Shara, I'm going to go ahead and put you in there. I'm going to go ahead and put you in there, Shara. Okay. So Shara, just do Shara Hope and Amy James. I'll put you both in there. Okay, so let me cut you out. Okay, so this is for a free half hour of lessons. Doesn't matter if you've never had it. I can just go over some basics with you, I guess. And this was actually for the post where I was announcing my piano studio that I just released today. Allie, you just shared right now. I'll put you in there. Allie V. Okay. And if you guys win, whoever wins, you need to get a hold of me. gentlyled@gmail.com. And I'll set you something up. Oh, oops. You don't need it. You don't need a half hour of lessons. I'll take you out then. I'm in Texas. It's for online. It's for online lessons. So all you have to do is, as long as you have a phone or a tablet or a computer with a little camera, then you can download Zoom and we will be doing it through Zoom. Okay. So it is online lessons. I have a lot of listeners and a lot of people that wanted to do the lessons, but obviously they don't live in Illinois. And I teach private lessons in person, but I just thought this was a good way to do it from my home while my kids are being homeschooled in the other room. And then that way it's a good idea because the people that I'm teaching, their parents don't have to leave. They don't have to take them. They don't have to wait in the van with all the other kids. They don't have to load up the baby. They can just have their kid log on and take their lesson. So, okay. So here, I have all the names in here. Okay. I'm going to reach in. I'm going to put it up here. Okay. I'm going to reach in and grab one name. So this is the person that's going to win right here. Okay. And that is Cindy Mosteller. Cindy Mosteller. You won. Cindy Mosteller. So I think you've won before the giveaway. You're just lucky. So you need to contact me at gentlyledsisters@gmail.com. A lot of women don't get to watch this until the following day. So if you are Cindy, I know you watch because I think you've won before. Cindy Mosteller, you won. So for the other ones that didn't, I'm so sorry. I guess you'll just have to sign up for a lesson. And if you want to, you could even sign up for one lesson. Just try it out. See if it's okay. See if you like it. See if it'll work for you. So thank you to everyone for coming and listening. Thank you again, Karen, for walking me through getting that website up and running. Thank you, Angelie, for doing the logo and the cute little mice. Just go check it out. It's such a cute site. churchmousepianoacademy.com. And then thank you also for all my sponsors. There are some sponsors on there. If you want to be a sponsor, contact me and let me know. And you will have your own little spot on my sponsors page. So with your logo and your link to your business and everything. So definitely check it out. If you have any other questions, leave them down below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe if you have not already. I'm going down on the comment on this video. All that stuff helps get the word out. It helps get this video out. It helps get this channel out. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Do all those things, and that will help get this out into YouTube land. So thanks for joining me, guys, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.